So welcome to Switch Your Sitch with your host, Katie Turner. I'm very excited to have Rachel Wood with me today. So Rachel was a client of mine in the fitness realm when she was building her own business at the age of 20 called The Wooden Platter. Sometimes I think your last name kind of how determined what you're bound to do, right? So Rachel Wood, Wooden Platter. She's 20. Not only has she built a business from ground up, which is now a full-time business, but you're also a full-time student studying humanitarian and
development
at UWS. So I'm going to hand it over to you and ask you, do you share a little bit about your journey this far? You're only 20, so just under half my age. And let us know what brought you here? What brought you to studying full-time as well as starting a business? So I'm going to hand it over to you, Rachel Wood.
Cool. Thanks for having me, Katie. Wow. I am Rachel. I'm 20 years old, as Katie said. And I started my business, 2 years ago now. So it was my first year out of school. I was actually doing working in retail and hospitality. Like I've had plenty of, casual hospitality jobs. And I actually just started my business as a bit of a side hobby. And friends and family, they were just like ordering I'll do cakes or things for their parties and whatnot. And they started saying to me, these are good enough to sell. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. I guess I'll start selling them and see where it goes. And I never ever thought that it would lead me to become my full-time income, but I always did it just on the side with my casual jobs and studying just as side hobby. And now it's my full-time job, and just started paying my mum as well. She's employed by me now as well.
Oh, so she's your employee, and are you living under her roof?
Yeah. So I love being my mum's boss under her roof. But no, it's good.
Your only employee, or do you have any more?
She's the first one so far. Yeah. She's joined on my team this year. Yeah.
So having your mum as an employee, and I did look on your website. So Father's Day is completely booked out. You're at capacity, which is amazing. And you've been going for 2 years now.
Yes.
Yeah. You've got an employee. You're studying full-time. So what's the driving force behind this work ethic? Because, I was the same when I was at university. I was waitressing at night. And so, trying to juggle more than just one thing, rather than, a couple of my friends were at the uni bar every night, or, weren't working. They had a little income from either study or family, and they were quite happy to sit on that. So what do you think where do you think your work ethic came from?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think my parents definitely drove that into me. But also just having such an amazing community back me in that has been so influential. The community in Broward, they're just amazing, and they've really backed me in this. I couldn't have done it without them. So they've been awesome. But my parents are definitely my number one supporters.
And what age did you have your first part-time or casual job? And was that because you wanted to get it, or were they like my mum was like, if you want to buy your own clothes now, out you go at 15 and 9 months. So
I think I started work at 13 years old, even though the age limit's 14, 9 months or something like that. I started pretty young. I was working in hospitality, and I don't know, I think hospitality has always just been a passion of mine. So I just jumped into it super early.
Because that, I mean, that's customer service as well. And I know yourself, you project very much customer centric. You're very much for the customer. And again, I think customer service or anything in hospitality, if I was Prime Minister, I would always say that everybody has to do 6 months in customer service. That's
100%.
strong foundation. So do you run all your own social media, or have you outsourced that? How do you do, where do you go there? Like 20 full-time working, full-time studying? How do you make it time?
Yeah, it's been tricky to balance, but no, I do it all myself. I think that's, yeah, kind of part of the hobby that I enjoy, doing the social media presence as well, and just started getting on the TikToks.
Well done. I'm still in this.
Yeah, yes.
And so you started this because you obviously love grazing platters yourself. I'm a huge fan of that, and a nice glass of wine. Do you think COVID's positively impacted your business?
Yes, I think it's kind of forced me to be a bit more creative in you know, the products I produce. We've instead of doing, you know, the big grazing spreads, or you know, the big boards catering for events and parties and stuff, we've kind of shifted our focus to kind of smaller gifts that people obviously haven't been able to see one another, and so yeah, we've really jumped onto that bandwagon, and yeah, have been putting together kind of grazing boxes or sweet boxes, that kind of thing, for people to send to their loved ones that they're missing. And it's honestly been, yeah, it's been awesome to see like the generosity in people, you know, gifting to other people, or just sending something because, you know, we're stuck in here. That's it. So yeah, it's been awesome. Like, oh, the other day I made a little dessert box for this little boy, and he told his mum that you know, he was emotional the day before because the lockdown has just been extended, and that was just announced, and so his mum got him this dessert box, and he was just overjoyed. He said to her, you know, "Mummy, you made me so happy," and she just burst into tears. And so, like, seeing that impact during these hard times has just been awesome as well. Yeah.
That's where your humanitarian side gels.
Yeah.
Right?
That's it.
Completely out into the spectrum. And something I hadn't even thought of is what you're seeing firsthand is this generosity and people thinking about other people in times where there really isn't anything to look forward to.
That's it.
I think, and food is definitely, food and wine are two things that I've been overindulging with.
Yep.
This also is part of my job.
There was this I delivered a grazing box the other day to a 70-year-old woman, and it was actually a kid's box, and she was so excited for the fairy bread. Like, if fairy bread is what brings you joy in lockdown, then so be it. Like, it's so good.
Sweet. Like, yeah, I'd never thought about delivering fairy bread, but it's all those things. And you've had to obviously evolve in terms of, did customers come to you and say, we want fairy bread, or did you just kind of think about it?
Well, yeah, no, the kids box was kind of a bit of an inspiration after you know, the kids went back into home learning, so that was a bit of a homeschool box for the kids, but you know, can be for the parents or for the 70-year-old women as well.
That's me. I'm very good. And do you have like an area that you deliver to? I mean, how do you scale that? Because obviously you started small with sort of friends and family. How did you scale to delivery now?
Yeah, so because it just is mum and I, we kind of keep it towards the upper North Shore and kind of parts of the lower Central Coast. But yeah, it's been definitely, you know, people are in this community, especially wanting to send gifts to loved ones that might be further away. So that's definitely something that we want to work on and involve, you know, being able to deliver far and wide. Yeah.
Definitely. I think, well, it's definitely a huge need, isn't it? And that care gift package is where it's at the moment. Going into our 9th week of lockdown and homeschooling is crazy.
Yeah.
So have your peers, I mean, at 20, are your peers encouraging you? Do they back you? Do you find that you might have some actually that tall poppy syndrome that sort of don't understand where you're at or are negative towards, because obviously very driven, which I love. Like, you've inspired me as well.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, no, I think a lot of them have been super supportive, and so many of my friends have backed me in that and ordered lots of food from me. But I know they get something out of this friendship. But no,
Thanks, right?
I think
never
exactly,
in business.
Exactly. But no, I think like it is hard. Like I don't think they fully understand sometimes just how much time and effort you have to put into it, and so it is hard sometimes when I have to sacrifice talking to my friends or hanging out with them when I'm putting in the hard work here.
Yeah, and for a good cause as well on both ends. So whether it be for study, is that with the wooden platter now, are you thinking that you're just going to continue to grow that while you're at uni? Are you going to diversify, go into a different sort of stream? What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I obviously pre-COVID loved loved doing like the big spreads for weddings and stuff. So I didn't get fully into that before COVID hit. So I'd love to get back into that and growing it to do bigger events and bigger spreads and whatnot. And yeah, like I said, hopefully we'll be able to expand and get a delivery service to go further. And like I've loved catering for like the local women's shelter and local schools and preschools and stuff. And so I'd love to keep growing and hopefully get more staff on board and see where it takes me.
When I ask you around cash flow, because being at 20, when you get money in your hand and there's a nice Zimmerman dress that you've thought about, how do you manage your cash flow to ensure that money goes back into the business to help grow that business, rather than, are you pretty strict with your budget? Are you on top of your finances? Because they're life skills.
Totally. Yeah. I think, my parents definitely instilled a good money ethic. I put it into things like my car, to paid off my car. But it is a hard balance because the more you put in, the more you get out of the business. So, but at the same time, you got to treat yourself sometimes.
Of course. I think that's it doesn't all go back into the business. There is some perks of tax expenses and tribute as well, and that's being a business owner, right? You don't have superannuation, you don't have sick pay, you don't have holiday pay, so there has to be some perks to the trade.
Totally.
And what have you found? I mean, do you love being your own boss and your mum's?
Absolutely. Sometimes she says I'm a bit mean, but she gets cheese and wine for business meetings. So
I want to come and work for you.
Let's go.
Cheese and wine sounds great at business meetings.
Oh yeah, it's great.
And you don't have to drive anywhere either. So
that's it. Business meeting in the lounge room in 5 minutes.
Wine, a nice grazing platter.
Yeah, that's it.
So what are those things that you love about having your own business? Like,
I think I just love the creative aspect of it, and just having no kind of constraint on that, and just, you know, I can create new boxes, I can create, you know, new Instagram posts, I have no limit and no restraint, and so I can just, you know, let my creative juices flow into this. And yeah, it's such a creative outlet for me as well. You know, I make art out of food, and so it's, yeah,
Love
it's
that.
so
You make
important.
art out of food. That's such a great tagline. And, you know, I love being in business because, I mean, there's legal boundaries, but besides that, there is freaking anything I want to do. And I'm not a rule follower.
Exactly.
I follow the law
I know.
where I need to, you know, and if the boundary is out here, I'll work out to that boundary. But I'm not very good at, staying within the lines. So I think that's a big perk about having your own business, is that you have that creative aspect of it. You can do whatever the hell you like.
Exactly.
And what do you think? Have you had any hurdles or any negative aspects of running your own business that you've come across?
Yeah, definitely. So I actually started my business doing grazing platters and cakes. So I would do kind of both for events, and I would do, you know, big like wedding cakes or birthday cakes, and I would do, you know, cupcakes for people and stuff like that. But I think for me it was too much, doing kind of having lots of different elements. I think you know, once I found my focus and just focused in on a few grazing, you know, boards and boxes, that's kind of when it took off. And so I think, yeah, you definitely have to have a clear focus and get your focus and your aesthetic down pat, and then you're good to go.
I love that, because we talk about niche or niche, however you want to say it, a lot, right? And understanding, and in my business mentoring, it's all about strategy and identifying your core product offering. And I think you've just nailed that. Like, you know, you started with a couple of product offerings, and when you got to the point of grazing platters over cake, was that because of the demand? Is that what you were seeing a greater demand with, or was it because it was more something that you enjoyed doing?
Bit of both. I think also grazing platters and tables, they kind of became a bit of a trend in the recent years. So I kind of, definitely hopped onto that trend. There's quite a few, you know, cake decorating companies and businesses around, and so I thought, you know, what a great opportunity, jump on the grazing tables trend. Well, it's yeah.
And you'll have to teach me how to bake a cake, because I can't even do that. No domestic goddess here, so we'll always require your services. I said to my husband, I know what I do well, and cooking and cleaning isn't that, so I'll stay within my lane. So being 20 also, you know, that's an age of self-doubt, I find. You know, that teenage years, and especially now with social media out there, it's really hard to kind of stay in your lane, keep focused, and stay with purpose. Have you got anything that, you know, you try and do to ensure that that's, you know, imposter syndrome doesn't come into your head, that you can't do it or somebody else is going to do it better? Is there how do you kind of weigh through that? Because when I launched my first business at 23, which is personal training studio, we didn't have social media. We were still putting signage up on windows, and it was still letterbox drops, and, you know, it was about who you knew, and, you know, building that brand. So you know, you still had that self-doubt, but being on social media, I feel for the next generation.
Yeah, that's definitely something that I've kind of been navigating at the moment, like especially in the online food space. Like, there's always going to be competition, there's always going to be people with similar brands and whatnot. But I think for me, like, I have my own aesthetic, and everyone's going to have a slightly different aesthetic, and so, you know, I I think I just I stick with my aesthetic, and it's me. It's I can't, so I just stick with that aesthetic and trust in that. But yeah, there's definitely times where you do doubt yourself. And like for me, I didn't do business studies in high school, and I'm not studying business in uni and whatnot. So there is always going to be times where that self-doubt sneaks in. But when you've got that community that backs you, like I think
that's I'm
yeah,
a big believer. Even with me, and I've been in the game for 20 odd years now, that imposter syndrome does, and I try to really limit my social media time, because you can go down that deep dark dive and that rabbit hole of your competitors and what they're offering and how they seem on social media versus yourself. So I think and coming back to that education stream, like I think there's a huge lag these days between how generations learn and what's being delivered to them, especially in a higher education. I did economics at university. It's given me fundamentals to understand business in terms of demand and supply. But the best application is doing it yourself. Nobody, it's like a push-up. I can tell you how many push-ups or how to do it, but without actually doing it, you're never going to develop what you need to out of upper body strength. So
totally.
The applications. And my theory is with business, we should have people in the classrooms like Branson, people who have done it. We've been taught business by academics, and that's especially at a higher education. There's a real, there's no cohesion between what's being taught and its actual application. So you never know, in 5 years' time, you could be a lecturer there at university with your platter each.
Who knows?
No better way to learn than from somebody who's done it, I feel.
That's it. And someone who's had no prior education, like I've learned the hard way with some things. So there's definitely lots to be learnt there.
And did you do your own website as well, or? Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
That's huge. With your generation, it is a fact that you can do all of that and run a business. Whereas my generation are dinosaurs with that sort of stuff. Hopefully by the time we get to my age, which is what I do and what my business specializes in, is finding the experts in that online space and then outsourcing to do that so we can focus on what we do well. So I'm not going to take up too much more of your time, but I am going to ask you if you have any advice for somebody who would step into starting their own business as a side hustle, or with vision to grow it into a full-time gig. What advice would you give somebody of your age who is thinking of going into that space?
Yeah, sure. I think a lot of what I've touched on, I think, learn from my mistakes, find your focus, and find your own aesthetic with whatever you're creating or providing, and really stick to that. I think do what you stick to yourself and what you know that you do best. And I think you'll be surprised that to find that people back you and like your products and whatnot. And
it's hard, right? There's a work ethic involved in that. It didn't just evolve out of you woke up one morning. You obviously persisted with that quite a bit.
Yeah, it's such a growth journey. So definitely be patient with yourself. And don't let your age hold you back.
I love that. Yeah, it's not about age these days. And you've got your generation definitely have the tools to start a business and the entry to the barrier to entry is so low. You can start a website yourself. You've got organic growth through social media. You don't even have to spend money on marketing. So I think in the online space, your age is actually an advantage to somebody like myself. So I think, yeah, definitely never doubt it because of your age. And then
Totally.
employ your family members.
That's it. That's it.
Where can our listeners find you, Rachel? What platforms are you on? Spruce them up here.
Yeah, well, I've got my website, thewoodenplatter.com.au, and then Facebook and Instagram, of course, at The Wooden Platter.
Yeah. Well, thank you for your time. I know that you're probably already starting to prep for Father's Day with
oh yeah,
wrapped up with hampers. Have you got a branded car yet? Will we see you driving around, or is that next?
I have thought about that. We'll see where we go.
Also a tax deduction.
Genius.
More tax. No, don't take any of my tax advice. I do not want to be sued. Thank you again, Rachel. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
Take care.
Cool. Thank you.
Right.